Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us on our webinar on what does it take to get into corporate supply chains. My name is Anjum Khan, and I am the director of the Asian Business Chamber of Commerce. Today we have with us Professor Monder Ram, director of CREM, and Aman Sandhu, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Manager at Balfour Beatty. And they will be giving guidance to connecting with corporate supply chains. So the agenda for today is that I will be passing over to Monda and also Oman very shortly. You'll get an opportunity to at 10 to 1 for a question and answer session. What I will request that throughout the chat, throughout the presentation, if you can type in your questions on the chat box on the right hand side of your screens. Any problems, there is guidance on any technical issues, or if you're having issues on hearing or seeing the speakers. So over to you, Professor Monder Ram and Aman.
Hi, Anjum. Pleasure to be here. And thank you to the Asian Business Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce for inviting us to deliver this presentation, this webinar. Now, we all know that COVID-19 has had a devastating impact on industry and on small firms in particular. This is even worse when you look at businesses from diverse backgrounds. Research that we have done at the Centre for Research in Ethnic Minority Entrepreneurship in Aston University with the Federation of Small Businesses recently has highlighted the considerable exposure of minority SMEs to COVID-19. Minority SMEs tend to be concentrated in particular sectors, catering, retailing, hospitality, etc., and those have been particularly exposed. And the debate now, the debate at which the Chamber have been at the forefront, is what would a recovery look like? For many SMEs and diverse SMEs in particular, that's a really challenging question. But one potential opportunity for recovery, to pursue a recovery, is to look at the supply chains of larger organizations. There's a huge body of research that makes the point, that speaks to the innovativeness of SMEs, the fact that minority SMEs are very agile, very growth oriented. Potentially, they could add considerable value to the supply chains of larger organizations. But often they're prevented from doing so for by a number of different factors. One is the sort of lack of knowledge of the range of opportunities out there. Supply chains are complex, and often businesses need to be fit to supply, i.e. have the skills and resources required to supply larger organizations. So that's one constraint, simply not knowing what opportunities are out there. A second constraint is this kind of skill set, what academics call the table stakes, what's actually required to compete at the top table. And so this is a reference to the resources within organizations, whether they've got the right marketing, the right digital infrastructure, the right personnel in their organizations to be able to supply to larger firms. And the third constraint is that the actual support to get there. What kind of networks, support, guidance can small firms, diverse firms in particular, utilize in order to make their way into the supply chains of larger organizations? And that's why this webinar is particularly timely, because our main speaker today, Aman Sidhu from Balfour Beatty Vinci, will be answering, I suppose, one of the toughest questions. We're giving some great advice on what does it take to get into the supply chains of larger organizations, and that will be the main part of the presentation. But as important as knowing the route way to larger organizations, we also need to know what it requires and the support needed for SMEs to get there. And after Aman presents, I'll be introducing a brand new program of support, which has been designed by larger organizations to support SMEs to get into corporate supply chains. So those are the kinds of issues we'll be covering in today's webinar. But let me move over now and give the floor to Aman, who'll talk about her role in EDI at Balfour, Beatty, Vinci, and provide the kind of knowledge which will be invaluable to SMEs with aspirations to supplying large organisations. Thanks, Aman.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you, Monder. So yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks you for dialing into this. My name is Aman Sidhu, as Monder said, and my role is Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Lead at Balfour Beatty Vinci. So just before we go into explaining the how, I just wanted to put some context around who Balfour Beatty are and what high-speed 2 rail really means to this region. So in terms of growth for the West Midlands, HS2 is set to generate £14 billion to the region, and that's in terms of jobs, skills, redevelopment, supply chain opportunities, and that was quoted from the West Midlands Growth Strategy Report. And HS2 are currently working in the region. So we have LMJV, who are currently doing the archaeological work. They are preparing that trace. They're doing the site clearance, all of the ecological work, replanting of trees, looking at waterworks, all of that type of work. And Balfour Beatty Vinci, as of April, we were awarded notice to proceed, which means we now can move forward as the main works contractor to do the main building structures for HS2 in this region. So what we'll be doing is things around tunnelling, viaducts, embankments, bridges, and I just wanted to share where we will be situated. So we are working from the West Coast main line, which is up towards Lichfield, down towards Leamington Spa. So we'll be coming into the city centre. We'll be making that connection between Curzon Street and New Street, along with the Birmingham interchange, and then from Leamington Spa, that will be picked up with Eiffage Kia. So we've been working over the last few years on the detailed design and programme, but we are a joint venture. So Vinci are one of the leaders in engineering and have done high-speed rail in France and other international projects. And Balfour Beatty, obviously largest UK construction company. So we're using the expertise of both organisations to bring Area North to this region, and that's supported by Mock McDonald's and Seastra. And what that actually means in terms of the build, there will be 310 assets. And as you can see here, we've invested in tunnel boring machines. We'll be doing 40 embankments, and we've got some details about what those structures mean. The reason I'm highlighting this is to put the scale of what we're delivering, but also for SMEs and businesses in the region to understand that this isn't just about construction skills. We need a huge range of skills to make this happen. And we're looking at a workforce of between 8,500 and 10,000 to build this. So there's all of the other facilities that we need around the project. In terms of timescales, I mentioned we had notice to proceed in April last month, and that's been long awaited. So prior to that, we had LMJV clearing that trace, and we will be working on the earthworks and the start of construction probably towards the end of this year and early next year, with the first trains which will be going live estimated at 2026. So for businesses who feel like they haven't heard enough or they're not aware of the opportunities, we haven't actually started. Our tier 1 packages are just in the process of being let at the moment. And it is through our tier 1s where the SMEs and small businesses within this region will have those opportunities. So you haven't missed anything yet, basically. So as I've hopefully given a quick overview of the project and who we are, I just wanted to kind of use this slide to highlight some of the key aspects that we want to deliver through this project. And it is economic growth for this region. We've had the likes of Andy Street, Paul Faulkner from the Chamber really championing us and our work. And it is ultimately to create jobs, skills and growth for everybody within this region. And we challenge our suppliers at each stage of the procurement process on what they're going to do to support us in that. This project is huge, not just for the region, but for the whole of the UK. And we can have a real step change within the industry. And we're passionate about making that part of our process with our larger tier 1 suppliers. There's a lot of work also being done on the skills employment education agenda, so working with partners across the region to look at those groups who are at a disadvantage, those communities who wouldn't normally have the opportunities to work with us, and that is led by our skills expert. And ultimately, we want to make sure everybody is represented as best as possible in this particular space. So in terms of engaging with our supply chain, as I mentioned, we're currently working with our tier 1s, and only a small fraction of packages have been put in place. Where there's specialist resource that we need, for example, tunnel boring machines, they are coming from overseas because they've never been manufactured in the UK. But we're still challenging those suppliers on what they can do to support local growth. And this is the kind of model we're going through. So what we're challenging our suppliers to do is look at what barriers that they have for diverse users. And that is not just individuals, but businesses as well. So a fundamental part of the PQQ and invitation to tender process for our suppliers is for us to ask them, how are they going to openly advertise their opportunities locally? Can they report on SME spend within the 40-mile radius of the project? Can they report back on the types of businesses that they're working with, whether they're female-owned, Asian, Black, Asian or minority-owned, disabled-owned? And if they can't, we're looking at them to look at what they do to improve those access opportunities for those businesses. And give them opportunities on how they can engage with those. And that is being measured by Balfour, Beatty, Vinci at each step of the way. So every single tender that comes through that will have an impact on inclusion is assessed by myself. So at the moment, there's a steady flow of these coming through. And then once we have our tier 1s in place, we'll be asking them to report back and evidence what they're doing. And if they're not doing everything that we want to support these goals, then we'll be challenging them and supporting them to help them do that. I appreciate there's lots we're going through, so the slides will be available. But for everybody who's on the call today, I just wanted to go through what the steps are for you to register your interest. So at the moment, all opportunities for HS2 are on Compete For. So if you wish to be part of the tender process, please register on Compete For with your business function, and any opportunity that comes along the whole of the line of route will be sent out to you. Now, if this isn't suitable for your business, we're looking at getting those opportunities sent to our tier 1, so they will also reach out to you. In readiness, Balfour, Beatty, Vinci do validation checks on all their suppliers, and you can register on Construction Line. So you state the size of your business, the type of business you are, and you'll go through a series of questions, and that will vet the ability for us to be able to work together, even through our tier 1s. You can go directly onto the Balfour, Beatty, Vinci website and select supplier. Under this section, there's just a very simple form, just with your name, the type of business. If you, in the description, put in HS2, all of those individual businesses who register are collated centrally. And again, tendering opportunities are specifically pushed out to those businesses. And they, again, will be shared with our tier 1 suppliers. And to get yourself upskilled in some of the language that we're talking around about skills, around inclusion, all other areas around modern slavery, you can register with the Supply Chain School. So Balfour, Beatty and Vinci are members of the Supply Chain School, and this is directly a direct free source to support anybody within the industry to upskill themselves. So if you haven't already seen that, it's a great place to start to understand how you can become ready for the contract as well. So Just moving on to the next slide. So there are a huge number of roles that will be available. So those individuals on the call who may be supplying labour, this is the type of workforce that just a fraction of the roles that we're looking for. And, you know, we've got carpenters there. Because of the shuttering work that we need, there'll probably be about 900 carpenters employed on this job. Probably, you know, thousands of general operatives. These are numbers that we're talking about in thousands. So if you know of anybody who's obviously interested in supplying this type of labour, we would encourage them to also register. And alongside this, we have non-construction skills. So we've got site surveying, health and safety, the utilities work, office management, because along that line of route that I showed at the start, there'll be 7 main compounds that will house hundreds of individuals who are working on the line of route, and all of those individuals need facilities to support them while they're in the compounds. And finally, this is just a small sample of the types of works packages that we'll be letting out. We will have over 1,000 procurement packages and opportunities going out to in the public domain through Compete For. So that would be the first platform I would suggest that you register yourselves on. But only a very small number of these have been let to tier 1s at the moment. And as this session is aimed at SMEs, it is our tier 1s who will be offering further opportunities. And like I said, we're challenging and working with them on a quarterly basis to see progress on supporting the region in these areas. So you'll see everything here from PPE, fuel, monitoring equipment, earthworks. This is just a very small sample, but it will hopefully give you a flavour of the types of packages that are going out. So I'm conscious of time and I do want to allow some time for questions, but just to sort of reiterate, for any HS2 tendering opportunities, please do register on Compete For. To go through a pre-qualification to work with Balfour Beatty, please do go onto construction line and the code is BVHS2. Please do also go to our Balfour Beatty Vinci website. Under supplier section, reference HS2 in the description, and any opportunities will be shortlisted to yourself depending on what business discipline you select. And for further training and development, please have a look at the supply chain score. So I appreciate there's a lot to go through, and if you've not seen or you're not familiar with the terminology, take a bit of time to have a look at these resources. And, you know, we want to make sure businesses are confident, and that's why we're working with Monder to go through how we can do that. And I'll let Monder explain a little bit more about how we can support local businesses on gaining that confidence to work with us through these streams.
Thank you, Aman. Over to you, Monder. Can you hear us?
Right. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Aman. I think that outline offers a really fascinating insight into the range of opportunities available to companies in the region, and there's certainly a huge amount going on. To take advantage of those opportunities, it's clear that businesses will need to have a particular set of resources, particular skill sets, and I suppose a particular set of marketing capabilities as well. We've been working very closely with Aman, Balfour Beatty Vinci, NatWest, and a range of other organisations to put together a programme that speaks directly to the challenges and the opportunities that Aman has kindly sort of set out. And together we've set up a programme, a 3-year programme of support for SMEs, which is free of charge which will provide best practice procurement guidance from Balfour Beatty and other organisations like NatWest, HS2 and the City Council. One of the big problems of a lot of support is it's very supply side driven. Here's a program of support, here's a workshop on procurement, here's a workshop on marketing. It's very rare that it's sort of shaped by the requirements of the purchasers, and a big advantage of this particular program is the input that our corporate partners have given us in shaping the program. Many of the sessions will be facilitated by our corporate partners, and what that does is provide a really detailed understanding of what SMEs, the kind of information that SMEs will need to get to grips with to supply larger organizations. So the heavy influence of purchasers who will be ultimately making the decisions about procurement is a very important feature of this research project. The second project, or the second part of the project, is the actual support that SMEs will be getting. We'll be putting on a range of bespoke interventions comprising workshops, one-to-one, face-to-face guidance, and in certain cases, grants to get small firms fit to supply larger organizations. And that support will be provided by specialists and experts at Aston Business School. It's a highly innovative program. It's based on the research that we've been doing at the centre for a number of years, and it's also based, very importantly, on the expert input of people like Aman and her colleagues from larger organisations. So there's a huge opportunity there for SMEs from diverse communities to get involved. So please do. We'll be circulating contact details later on, so you can get in touch with us to find out more about the programme. So I don't want to say too much because I know we've got limited time. We're very happy to take questions, Anjum, from either yourself or colleagues who might be on the call.
Yeah, no, thank you, Aman, and thank you, Monder, as well. And it's great to see, especially this platform, Monder, that Aston University has put together. Businesses, obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, would be interested, but thinking that they're a small business may not be able to go forward with it. I'm going to go on to the questions that have been coming across. Let's have a look. Okay, so can I just say to everyone else who has connected to the webinar, if you have any questions, please type away in the chat and I will ask as we go along. So one of the questions that has come up is, what's the percentage of people employed on the project who have a West Midlands home address, please, as opposed to people who travel in from London? That would be over to you, Aman, in regards to HS2.
Yeah, I think I haven't got the exact figure for you. Can try and get that back to you. At the moment, up until April, we were a project team who were based within an office, working on detailed design, programme and cost for HS2 in Area North. Now that we've had the green light in April, we are slowly moving to site operations, and we are looking as best as possible to look at local employment opportunities. So we are working with all of the local authorities on getting our opportunities out there, the local job boards, DWP, local training partners. Our skills and employment lead is ex-Birmingham City Council director, so she is fully in the loop of those opportunities, and the project is keen to deliver local growth where possible. So as I said, the project team up until now has been experts from Balfour, Beatty and Vinci, who have relocated into the region to support us up to this stage. But as I've mentioned, we'll have a workforce of up to 1,000. That will be a mix of local and those individuals who need to travel.
Okay, thank you for that, Aman. Next question by Jay Carmen is, on her side, I believe we can get a lot of people to work for the HS2. Do I need to be a registered company, like a recruitment centre?
So if you know individuals who are interested in work, you can go onto the Balfour Beatty website that I showed, and there's a careers site section within there. Go into the careers section and register your interest. There are a number of vacancies available at the moment, and there's just 3 that have gone live yesterday for 3 different types of apprentices that we're looking for. If you're a recruitment company, then you need to register your interest on Compete For and under the supplier section.
Okay, thank you for that, Aman. Next question from Charles. How do businesses best engage with tier 1 suppliers?
So once we have all our tier 1 suppliers in place, we will be sharing that on the website. The reason why we're asking you to register in various sections, because we will also be sending that information onto our tier 1s. But at the moment, because we've only got notice to proceed in April, only a very few of our tier 1s are in place, and that is the type of ones that we have in place at the moment are for the tunnel boring machine or for large steelworks contracts at the moment.
Okay, thank you for that. Next question. Is there a process for people working on the contract to have visibility of local businesses who might supply to them, i.e. a security company who are awarded a contract can see a local who can provide products, services they will need?
Let me just check that. So there is a process for local businesses registering their type of works. I would suggest that is done through the Balfour Beatty Vinci website. HS2 have also got a local business forum where they're collecting local services also. So I would suggest I can get the details of that sent out to everybody on this webinar after we've finished. But I'd say the first step is to register with us, and we will send that on to the appropriate supplier. And like I said, the tier 1's information will become available on the website once those packages are in place.
Okay. I think what Martin is trying to ask is that if a security company has been, is an example, if a security company has been awarded a contract, can they see a local who can provide the product services that they will need? So will you be listing, will the actual organizations you're winning the contracts, would there be a chance for that to be published, or they can see who are local suppliers?
Yes, yeah. So that'll be information that we capture and share with the tier 1s.
You do. Okay, great. Thank you. What are the expectations around percentage of employees versus contractors?
So Balfour Beatty Vinci itself is a team of about 350 at the moment. We're expected to increase to about 900. And like I said, that probably about 10% of the staff. 90% of our workforce will be through contractors.
Contractors, great. I think, can we have a space to open a Mexican restaurant, and how do we approach the possibility? Okay, so someone's asking that is there space to open a restaurant, and how do they approach the possibility of that?
So within our main compounds, they are situated along that line of route. So there'll be a general facilities management contract let who will look at catering facilities.
Right.
I'm not too sure how it would work to open a specific standalone, because I have a feeling that there will be a separate catering contract for the whole of the line of route. But I will have to check that one and get back to you. Like I said, we haven't got anyone from our procurement team in here on this at the moment. So there might be, these are some quite specific questions for them.
Sure. I mean, is there possibility with certain questions we can go back to them or pass them on to your procurement team at all?
Yeah, if you could send us the list of questions, then we can respond back.
No, that is fine. I think that is it for questions. I mean, one of the things that we will be doing is sending a link to everyone who has registered to today's webinar. The recording of this webinar, as well as the slides and contact details for Aman from HS2, and also Professor Monder Ram as well. So I'd like to thank you both for joining us today and sharing the information you have done on our platform. What I will say also is that as the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce, we are here to support all businesses, especially obviously the businesses who are our members. But if you're not a member and you do require support, please do reach out to us, because there's a lot of support that we can or signpost you accordingly as well. You can visit the Greater Birmingham Chamber's website. We have loads of information in regards to the coronavirus that your businesses are being affected by, and what to do. And if there's anything that you think that we should be lobbying on your behalf and we're not, please also do let us know. My email address has also come up, and I just want to make you aware that our next webinar is taking place on the 17th of June, and it's an introduction to the Armed Forces Covenant as well. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you at our next webinar. Please do take care of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.